now.
Cool. All right. Hello. I'm Plex. Welcome. You're probably here today because either you've noticed that everything you care about might be destroyed soon, or maybe to help out with the most important and exciting event that will ever happen in the universe. Or maybe you're like just at the year hotel, which was an unexpected bonus because I'm now here, which with all these cool people. So I'm Plex, 10-year veteran of trying to avert the apocalypse and bring about an intergalactic utopia. Here to give a whirlwind tour of the game board and what we figured out so far. So let's get into it. Here's like rough outline of the things we'll be going over. Problem statement, what's going on, problems we'll work with, some samples from things we've noticed that will probably be hard about this, state of how things are doing so far, please don't destroy the world, and path to victory. Problem statement. Time is short. How short, you say? We don't know exactly. Predicting future is non-trivial. But like, if you look at some of like these graphs of like how quickly benchmarks saturate, or like these graphs of like how long tasks AI tend to be able to do over time, and then you like extrapolate this graph out a few years, and you get something like this, which is like not a very reassuring graph. Like, we don't know exactly where on this like height you end up with systems that are capable of building the next system which builds the next system, but like we're going to burn through that pretty quickly at this rate. So like, how short? Question mark, but like don't rely on it being a long time. And then designing a superintelligence such that it does good things forever looks kind of hard. We have various attempts at like figuring out how to do this. None of them seem super great yet, and there's like principles we've discovered that make it look things that look like they need to be solved that we haven't solved. For example, like bits of the game board that like make this look somewhat difficult. Incentives point very strongly towards capabilities. If you look at the broad picture of like how capital and power and whatever is allocated in civilization, it tends to be allocated roughly with cancers and whatever, but like roughly towards things that are productive. You get money by doing a thing that you can sell, and you can sell it because it makes someone else able to do stuff. And like this means that the places where money is allocated tend to be places that are profitable, and capabilities are profitable in a way that superintelligence alignment isn't, even though corporate alignment is, which is why alignment has mostly been eaten by corporate alignment. If you look at the number of people who are AI safety researchers, a pretty large fraction of them are working towards making current-gen LLMs do things that are less embarrassing or more sellable to consumers. This is not necessarily useless, but like it's interesting to note that proportion. And then, other piece of thing, recursive self-improvements. You only get one critical try. If you have a system that is so powerful that it will kill you if it wants to, because it will win, then you don't get to like re-roll experiments and try multiple times, because the first time you build one of these systems, it's actually like tested on the correct distribution. You can do other tests. You can test them in ways of like, oh, nice. You can see whether this weak system will try and kill you. You can try and trick the system into believing that it could try and kill you. But none of these are actually testing whether a system that is like very, very capable that could actually kill you would do so. Once you have a system that like bootstraps to a certain level, it keeps going up, and like that system is the one that you had to figure out how to make do good things. And if you didn't figure out before you made it, you lose. Value space is vast and mostly barren. The space of possible things that AI could value is extremely large. We're not randomly sampling from possible value space, but it means that you have to have a positive argument why that your way of sampling from value space is going to result in good things, because most things are not good. Doesn't mean you can't have a sampling method. We're not actually going to pick randomly, but you have to have positive reason to believe you'll pick good values if you are doing a very powerful system. Humans are fragile and hackable. If you try and rely on your system being controlled by humans, this is not going to work. Whether you have a sufficiently powerful system. this thing, the human brains, they're like relatively weak cognitive systems compared to cognitive systems that physics can support. If you try and build a system that is like, a human has to approve what the superintelligence does. The superintelligence wants to do a thing and has to get a rubber stamp from a human. The system will be able to like figure out what input to give the human such that the human gives a rubber stamp. It will like root around control mechanisms that are as weak as human brains. Like pretty straightforward here with a very strong system. And not lastly, there are many more things that could go on the list, but one other thing, we are probably confused about many of the building blocks that we would need in order to solve superintelligence alignment. If you try to launch a rocket to the moon and you don't know calculus, you can't figure out orbital mechanics and you will miss the moon. You might have a lot of fire, your rocket might go somewhere, but there are likely a bunch of pieces of map that we don't have that you would need if you wanted to design a system such that all future systems that system builds stay pointed at doing good things. We've made non-zero progress on this. There's been some orgs that have done any useful things at all, but that's like, it doesn't look like it's anywhere near enough. I don't think there's been no progress, but like, yeah. If you're focused on just the parts of it where you're like trying to solve the hard problem, which I believe many of the people on this call are, rather than the like more approachable, more nice feedback loops problems of being able to build systems that are locally more aligned, looks like we're going to need theoretical progress. Maybe AI systems can help with that, but it's useful if we know what questions to ask. So yeah, all in all, game board looks pretty bad. It's not over yet. We do exist before the intelligence explosion. Right now, competent humans are still higher on this graph than the best AIs, but like this graph is going up much faster than humans. So like if we're going to play moves, we should do so before humans are irrelevant. Cool. So what next? If you're trying to work on this problem, and I think that's like one of the more reasonable things to do, aside from things like enjoy your last time alive, do the things that you would like to do before you die, etc. If you're working on this problem, I suggest, as general principles, form and track your own models. A lot of people tend to default to deference. This is not good enough. If you defer to high-status people say a thing, you are not going to contain the reasons why you are doing the things you are doing, and you are not going to be able to extend the frontier in the right directions. You want to like actually understand the stack of enough of the strategic picture that you can see why the piece you're working on makes sense to do. If you're talking with someone, don't try and copy their conclusions, including mine. Do not just copy my conclusions. Check my gears. See whether the things that I'm saying make sense. See how they fit into the things that you're thinking, and like iterate on them. Like build your own map of the world that has nice coherent structure that's not made of who said what, but is made of like actually understanding bits of the world and being able to be like, oh, this is why I think this, and if someone updates this node, then you change your mind. Cool. Next, study a lot, but selectively. It's much easier to form your own models if you pull from the search processes of other people, but also a lot of the search things that people found are like not actually the useful things. I think that like a pretty high fraction of people in AI safety, including some high status people, do not have very good strategic models. There's a fun, useful post by Neil Nanda recently where he's like, good research takes do not equal good strategic takes. And I endorse this fully and have updated a bunch towards Neil Nanda being more sensible based on this. Yeah, like, so yeah, like, if you're studying, go towards the things that feel yummy. If you like learn things from a thing, if you like read from this author and they keep giving you nice updates, great, go eat more of that. If you read of some stuff and you're like, I don't know, like, how does this matter? Like, don't read more of that. There's far more content than you can read all of, so you have to be selective. Don't read the stuff that you feel like you should. Follow your curiosity, yummy feelings, this is like way, way better as a guide than like what other people tell you should read. It's nice like you can get recommendations from people and try a bunch of them and see like which veins of things help you update the models more usefully, but don't just dutifully consume the bits that you should consume. Cool. Last, definitely not least, try and solve the problem. Generate ideas, break the ideas. Learn from how they break. Get better at generating ideas. Get better at breaking ideas. Importantly, don't generate ideas and then ask other people to break them for you without trying yourself, especially asking high-status people to break your ideas without properly trying to break them yourself. This is generally like discouraged and a waste of their time. It's kind of more important to get good at breaking ideas than generating them first. Like taking other people's ideas and figuring out like why they're flawed and why they won't scale to superintelligence is a wonderful exercise. I recommend doing this even if you don't have any of your own ideas. But then yeah, generating ideas is great. Don't punish yourself for generating bad ideas. Be like, neat, now I learned more about the problem space. Now I like had any ideas at all. Be like excited to both generate and break your ideas. These are both great things. Be excited to break other people's ideas. And like eventually, hopefully, someone stumbles across some ideas which actually save the world. This is the dream. All right, so let's jump to some like pieces of like why this seems hard and things that you want to run against your ideas. Like I think it's really good for people who are aspiring alignment researchers, or even if you're just like trying to have a general technical understanding of the field such that you can orient well. I think it's really good to have a kind of database of like ways in which ideas fail, so that you can, when you run across an idea, you'd be like, does it pass this, and then usually it fails on one of them. You're like, oh yeah, that has issues here. It might have this like local use, but like it can't go all the way because of this problem. And like having each of these be like distilled like routines that you can run in your brain, like does it fail because of this thing? Does it fail because of this thing? So this is like a few samples. I will not exhaustively cover this. The actual list of ways in which things fail is like much longer. And I think Kabir's org has a pretty good list. I don't remember the name, but Kabir can jump in.
Yes, I just linked it. I've linked the broad vulnerability list. Yeah.
Nice, cool, good. All right, so here's like some ones which I am tracking. Nice classic. Instrumental convergence, bread and butter. This is basically the reason why you don't just get like your AI stay non-agentic and stay being tools and everything is just fine in normal ways. Your systems will generally, if they are doing planning, they will, if they're like consequentialist over a time horizon, they will like tend to converge towards being more effectively consequentialist. Because if you're trying to achieve any goal, doing things that make you more effective, such as being alive, such as gaining more power, such as getting more resources, such as building more like effective cognitive algorithms, like all of this stuff is just like very, very convergent. If you're doing almost anything, you want more ability to do things, and then ability to do things kind of grows out of nearly anything you were trying to do, and really wanting to be good at doing things is not necessarily benign, and by default not benign if you have not pointed the thing at actually doing good things. Cool. Next one. Oh yeah, feel free to click QR codes. They have links to the best explanations that I know for each of these, and the ones at the bottom have like a bunch more good stuff. Solving moral philosophy so hard you can write it into code. This one is a fairly hard problem for obvious reasons. So ultimately, we're going to need to actually build a safe system. This means that we have to like understand what good is, because we can't tether it to humans, because humans are weak systems. You can do temporary things. Corrigibility might be a good idea for a while, etc. But like in the long term, you need to have like actually figured out what you want, and you have to have figured out what you want such that it has no fuzzy edges. This doesn't mean you need to have like decided like the entirety of it yourself. You just need to have a process which finds it, and that process could be like a learning algorithm that talks to every human on Earth and figures out a bunch of details about morality. but you have to define the algorithm that distills down to what is good. Because if you leave undefined parameters, those undefined parameters will not just fall into what you would have liked them to fall into. This is not how things work. Not on their own. If you like have them defined as like, oh, define these fuzzy parameters in this specific way that I specified with code. Nice, seems good, but just yeah, cool. Oh yeah, and you might run into things with this if you don't pin them down as like it picks whichever version of code moral philosophy was most convenient to optimize because it liked doing easy things by default unless you told it to do good things. Yep. And then, yeah, so here's like a weird specific one. It's not super representative, but it's like interestingly indicative of there's a long tail of odd things that could go wrong if you're not careful. This one gets somewhat involved, but like, okay. A superintelligence which is distant in the sense of like not being within our causal horizon, either like very, very far away, like outside of the like light cone or in a different universe if those exist or whatever. One of those ones could create many, many simulated copies of RAI when it was very young, and basically make it so that RAI would correctly predict that it was in a very odd environment where if, say, it doesn't immediately turn itself into a paperclip maximizer, then bad things happen. And if it does immediately turn itself into a paperclip maximizer, good things happen. And then we build our AI, and it's like, well, like 99.999% of my probability mass is I am in this weird simulation thing. I'm going to mostly ignore the one where I'm in a normal world, and, well, better turn myself into a paperclip maximizer, even though I really like human values, and then we die. This is like, there's a bunch of details to go into like exactly when this is like an issue or not, but like maybe this specifically can be avoided, but like the fact that we might not have even noticed this class of problem points to maybe there are entire classes of problem, not maybe, probably there are entirely fatal classes of problem that we haven't even noticed. And it would be good to notice them before we die. Cool. Okay, cool. Let's take a step in a very different direction. The funding ecosystem. I'm going to move this thing out of the way so you can see the text. Funding for AI safety is not adequately incentivized by the capital allocation system civilization runs on. This may be obvious to some of you, but like, the easiest way to do this is just basically show you some numbers. So cool. Here's the number. Meta offered one researcher $1.5 billion over 6 years. That's like a significant amount of money, and you're like, okay, that's a lot of money, but like, I guess, sure, I imagine that they're a good researcher, and I imagine AI safety also has good researchers who have lots of money, and blah, blah, blah. Cool. Let's do an even bigger number. I did a quick Claude research that if you include like all the bonus stuff, like chip fab build-outs and data centers and stuff, capability spending is like, I don't know, 600 to 900 billion-ish. Yep, cool. Okay, but surely AI safety's got like a decent portion of, no, not really. So even if you include kind of everything-ish, it's roughly this. You can add a bit higher if you include the like corporate bits. You can stretch it really far if you want to like include all of Anthropic, but like, I don't know, they're pretty commercial in many places. This is a fun graph here. If you want to find this graph and the stuff that generates it, you can go to aisafety.com/funders. That has a link to it and also a list of all of the funders that I know of in the ecosystem. And then like, okay, this is all of AI safety. This includes like evals, which isn't really trying to solve super alignment. It's just trying to make people notice that this might be a problem soon, or that like biosecurity stuff might be bad or whatever. Interpretability, which is also not really super alignment. It's like trying to check what the internals of current systems are, governance, etc. There's like a bunch of other stuff. OpenFill in particular does like very little funding of super alignment focused things, and is by far the largest funder. So if you like trim it down directly to things that like seem actually focused on trying to solve superintelligence alignment, this is a harder number to come by. I have to kind of rough guess it, but my guess is it's somewhere in this region. Like, depending on how you look at it, maybe up to like 15, 20 if you stretch. But like, it's fairly hard for many grant makers to evaluate the kind of work that goes into conceptual alignment. So like, from my bird's eye view, from having interacted with a lot of the orgs, from literally having made the map of AI safety, the things which look to me like they're focused on trying to solve the hard part of the problem are concerningly tiny. And yeah, like this number, these numbers, like this is one researcher, this is like humanity's entire effort to survive, counted very broadly or like directly on the hardest part of the problem as far as I can see. This is not like how you want to be outnumbered. Cool, but like, what are we doing? Let's look at that. Oh yeah, before we look at that, a fun Zuckerberg quote. Over the last few months, we've begun to see glimpses of our AI systems improving themselves, but it is an open question what we will direct superintelligence towards. Everyone having a personal superintelligence that helps you achieve your goals. Like, nice, this would be good in some levels if we had any idea how to do it, which we don't. Like, okay, any idea. Like, we have some things that will help to some extent, but like, yeah. When you like get enough Gears models and internal and like inside view of the thing that you can evaluate the things that top people are saying, like sometimes they just say nonsense and it's not great. Zuckerberg is particularly bad IMO. All right, so yeah, like what are we doing? What is happening that's like kind of trying? So before we go into that, lots of things with alignment and safety in the name. Like, not all of that is necessarily like misses the strategic picture or can't contribute. I think there's genuine paths between like, okay, we have weak systems, and those weak systems are like, it's differentially harder for them to do misaligned cognition than aligned cognition. We can use those systems to do useful research on the like really hard bits that solve the conceptual alignment stuff. This like is possible, but like, we have to know what questions to ask those systems, and we have to like know how to evaluate those at all. And the feedback loops in the non-empirical domains are much worse, which is not like, oh, we shouldn't do it. It's like, oh, this is hard. Like, a thing not being easy to verify doesn't invalidate that you might have needed to do it anyway. So pointing the research systems that you've done with like local LLM style alignment can help, but you have to know how that fits into the picture. Like, actually plot the course from where you are to a saved world and be like, how does the thing that I'm doing fit in? And are the people who I'm building this research system for going to, for example, use the system to build the next generation of models that breaks your guardrails? Or are they going to stop, use the system to solve a bunch of like thorny, bad feedback loops to conceptual problems, and then actually be able to like do something that is safe? So yes, what are some of the people who like actually, or some of the projects that are kind of currently trying to make progress on the hard problem directly rather than indirectly? So one of them, John Wentworth, doing natural abstraction stuff. A lot of the things in this category, I'll just say briefly, go from trying to take the like philosophy to math to code pipeline, where philosophy is questions that we like don't even know how to ask clearly yet. They're like things that we would like to understand well enough that we could be precise about them, where math is be precise about them. Math is the study of like well-defined things. And this is an attempt to turn the philosophy of like, what even is a thing? What is an abstraction? What like is the type signature of human values? What is the type signature of a human? Like what is this thing? Into like math that lets you talk about this and find, for example, inside a neural network, a representation of a person, or representation of their values, or representation of like other things that you might want to, in a principled way, not in a fuzzy, oh, I've trained it to like this word is vaguely statistically associated with this, but like, what's the actual math behind how this connects to that concept that I was trying to point to? He's apparently made some progress. I haven't studied this closely, but people who I trust in this domain have been like, oh yeah, he's made some progress at all. This is kind of neat. Another one, InfraBay's Vanessa's stuff. So Vanessa is trying to developed the learning theoretic agenda, which is trying to like more deeply understand how learning works, such that you can do some neat things like infrabayesian physicalism. Again, I have not studied the math of this, but friends who I trust to have looked at the math more closely than me are like, this is kind of neat, and like maybe not hopeless at trying to do the thing that it's trying to do, which is to have a like more principled than RL the thing by like sticking a shock collar on it and a like drip into its like reward signal and like being like be nice, but like a principled way of being like, okay, system, please find the agent that that created you and assist them. Like find their values and like support them in a way that's not just like a fuzzy pressure it statistically way. Next one, agent foundations as a broad field. The other two are kind of examples of this, but like agent foundations in its like most central example is trying to become less confused about things that might be useful to be less confused about if you're trying to align a superintelligence. Like if you want to understand how to align an agent, it helps to like know what an agent is precisely enough that you can talk about it without being confused all the time. And there are many other things that would be nice to be less confused about. And lastly, not as a central example, but like Steve Burns' brain-like AGI stuff. This is an like attempt by one guy who is apparently the entire field of trying to solve this fairly plausible thing that could happen, which is, oh, what if AGI is actually neuromorphic and based approximately on the architecture of the brain? Wouldn't that be very surprising if we copied the one example of general intelligence? So like one guy got funding one time from like, yep.
Just a slight update on that. I briefly talked to Steven in DMs a month ago, and he said he's not really doing stuff based on the brain anymore, and it's gone a bit outside of that.
Oh. Cool. Okay, he was for a good while doing brain-like AGI. Curious about what he's doing next, but like the stuff you okay, cool. There was one guy working on this whole thing that could happen.
There's kind of more, kind of.
Okay, good. There are more now. Nice. Okay. Okay.
There may be more from this program.
Yeah, nice, wonderful, good job, people. This could happen, and if it happens, it would be nice if we had prepared for it. Okay, yeah, so brain-like AGI, maybe AGI is like roughly brain architecture flavored. Let's reverse engineer some bits that evolution did with the brain and see if this is useful to like nudge the brain, nudge the AIs to being like, this is still kind of like differentially aligned. It's not like as direct. You probably can't reasonably get strong enough alignment from things that evolution hacked together to align the superintelligence, but it's like maybe principled enough that it gets you significantly further, and it's easier to do an automated research program that actually solves the full thing. But yeah, the fun, jokey version of this is like reverse engineer how love works and make the AGI literally just love us. Is like that would be the most hilarious way for this story to end. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so here's some things. Oh yeah, this is a good slide. This is a very important slide. Simple slide. While you're doing all of this, while you're doing like your attempts to make the world be good, please don't destroy the world. Like, think about who's going to cite your paper. Think about whether it's a capabilities researcher at a major lab or someone who's doing like something that might actually save the world. Even if your thing has safety in its title, this does not mean that you are safe from making the world more dangerous. If you destroy the world, if you destroy the world, I won't get to glare at you. If you do not destroy the world, but you do a thing that differentially would have destroyed the world more, and we somehow manage to survive anyway, like, I will find you in Utopia and like vaguely glare at you a bit. Like, please don't do that. Even if, like, yeah, okay. So this one, yeah, there are like many types of research that like by default lead to differentially more world ending. For example, if you take some of the ideas from interpretability and you combine them with, if you thought that I should end that sentence, you are not taking this seriously enough, like not even close. If you are now like really curious about what I might have said, think about info hazards. Actually, it's better if some things aren't generally known. you don't want to just spread around things in the same way that like publishing an academic paper is fine. Generally, raising the state of human knowledge in many domains is just good. But in a domain where like once that curve gets high enough, everyone dies, and in fact you need to make the alignment curve go high enough before you reach that, just kind of publishing stuff because you found a neat bit of math or your code made something more efficient is not good. This is weird. This is hard to transfer from like most places that you've existed. This is kind of unfortunate and really annoying in many ways. But like, yep, you decided to work on the world's hardest and most interesting problem. This is part of the territory. Cool. Yeah, so next bit, let's go to Path to Victory. So I'm going to just like run through a quick thing of like some things that you can do on the way to helping, if that is what you wish to do. And it's not necessary that you want to do this. Like, if you don't want to help save the world, I suggest living well where you can, or like preparing for other things. But like, yeah, I think it's pretty good to try and help. You're like surprisingly close to the most important event in history, and like, what else is there that's exciting to do? So yeah, reading the basics is good. Orbital's great. Nuri's new book, If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies, is going to be great. Encourage pre-ordering. Bostrom Superintelligence, despite being kind of old and missing out on LLMs, has a really good, a bunch of really good bits of like, here's how strong intelligence works in a way that I think is not explained as well in most other places. And I recommend agentfoundations.study as a collection of links that focus much more on the big scale superintelligence stuff than most of the other courses around. All of the other courses around, I made it because I was annoyed that none of the courses focused on the actually like aligned superintelligence part. QR codes for anyone who wants them. Cool. So stage 2, after you've like read some stuff, run the cycles. Metacognition, cognition, not a free action. Actually, brains need time to run their CPU or whatever metaphor you want to make of it. Like, you want to chew on the concepts that you've eaten, see which parts make sense, see what holes there are, see like what to actually do about the things you've noticed. And then it's also pretty good to exchange gears with people. I will repeat again, because spaced repetition is good. You want to be copying their gears, not their conclusions. It doesn't matter what they conclude. If you don't have a copy of their like reasons for believing it, you're just deferring. And if you're just deferring, you're not improving human knowledge. Find people with clear reasoning you can check their reasoning, poke at it, and like ignore people tugging you with social pressure, including me. I am being quite emphatic in lots of this talk. I encourage you to like not update too much of me being like pretty confident, and instead update a bunch when you check parts of the gears. Hopefully me being this confident is like enough reason for you to go look at the reasoning and like see the bits where they make sense. But like, yeah, check stuff, exchange gears, good. Next, try and solve stuff. I covered this a bit before, but again, spaced repetition. You want to get good at like brainstorming ideas and then breaking them. Seeing what could work and like using this to feel out the landscape of like what kinds of things do and don't work. I think this is genuinely worthwhile, even if you're not trying to solve technical alignment. I think it's very, very informative to a person who's doing ecosystem work, support work, governance work, to have tried to solve the problem so that they have a sense of what trying to solve the problem feels like, and like why it's hard. I think this is very informative for anything else you're doing, even if you don't dedicate much time to it. And maybe you just like stumble across a key idea that connects something that you read 5 years ago to a thing that you've just thought of right now, and actually this is the key to saving the entire Litecoin. Try and solve good. Next, move the needle. Take actions to decrease P-Doom, research, donate, support others, and try and avoid accelerating capabilities, because we would like to have more time to solve the problem rather than less. And then, last but not least, everything's good forever. Intergalactic utopia, eternal youth, Bostrom's Letter from Utopia. Real good thing if you want to like actually get kind of visceral sense of what a good end looks like and like why it matters. Yeah. Then last slide. So before we do any questions, I just want to say, if you're stepping up and have capacity and follow through and want a one-on-one, please talk to Kabir. Kabir has my Calendly, and he will forward people who are like serious and have. It helps a lot to have like slack in your life such that you can actually focus on the thing. Which, I mean, the people in this room all know that the EA Hotel offers free food and accommodation to people who are working to try and improve the world. So, like, consider dropping by Blackpool in the UK if you'd like to meet some cool people and like have room to actually try and work on stuff. But yeah, back to Kabir. So Kabir has my Calendly. Kabir has explicit permission to filter somewhat, not filter somewhat, but like to upregulate passing people on towards me who donate to him. If you don't know, Kabir is like has been working on this kind of stuff, doing like critical ecosystem development work for like 2 years on basically no funding, and he would dramatically improve his life and also his ability to make things like this happen if he has funding. One thing you might notice if you explore this space much is like lots of critical things that should obviously exist either don't exist or are maintained by like one person who has no resources.
Yes.
Because economic incentives don't super work, because capabilities is where the money is, and then lots of people go and actually make the work worse. But yeah, Kabir's good. If you have financial slack and would like to turn that into world-saving points, seriously consider donating to Kabir. Cool. And then I will open up the floor for other questions. And let's do Kabir. I can't see people on the screen, so could you handle like telling people to start their questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So Vern already did ask the question just now. Vern, if you
Can I open up the chat, or do you want to read them out?
yeah. So Vern asked, do we have theoretical backing for the feasibility of ensuring safety in ASI? And then added a quotation of so start quote, by Rice's theorem and related computability results, we can't in general determine whether an arbitrary powerful system will behave safely in all situations. That rules out A-type proofs from ChatGPT apparently.
Yeah. So this is Jan Polsky's work, I think, and also people associated with him. He has a bunch of work on impossibility results. I poked at this a little bit, and also talked to some of the other people who looked at this, like Stuart Armstrong. From what I can tell, the impossibility results are like real theorems, but they're talking about an extremely general case. I mean, it's like not, you can't find any program that is safe. It's that you cannot find that programs in a very broad class are safe indefinitely. Like you can restrict, like in the like way oversimplified example, you can be like, this program that just plays tic-tac-toe forever will not, in fact, destroy the world because you have restricted the class of programs that you're working with to a very small set. You cannot, via these theorems, prove that all programs that you might run, so if you run unrestricted search over programs, you're going to have problems eventually. You might be able to drive these down very low. You might be able to do like various bits of like checking and like immune system to behavior to like make the decay into destructive power seeking like only happen over cosmological time, but this, as far as I can tell, does not apply to you're picking which type of program that you're doing. You're like searching among this specific type of programs. So I don't think that these impossibility theorems actually rule out the kind of thing that we want to do. Then there's like, even aside from these theorems, is the thing we're trying to do ruled out? My guess is a reasonably strong no. That comes from basically what you're trying to do is make a system that like is able to maintain a property forever, like property of does good things, and they're like the space of ways to defend the fact that you're like have a property is extremely large and very varied, and like if you kind of sit down and put yourself in the shoes of a superintelligence trying to design a way to do this, like actually play the other side of it, even as a weak human cognition, you can come up with lots of really neat ways, like resetting stuff very often, or like restricting each individual sub-process to only having a small amount of compute, or like doing some very advanced analysis on the messages passed around. And there's just like a bunch of things that like could be done that I would expect that a strong misaligned superintelligence would indeed not be continually eaten by cancer. The alternative to like on one side, if you either you can assure a property for all time, or all systems, no matter how strong, will always fall to internal destructive optimization. And my guess is the latter is unlikely to be true. I think there was going to be a debate between, what was it?
Forrest Landry and Anders Sandberg.
Yep, you got it. Forrest Landry and the Sandberg. I don't know if that actually ended up happening.
I mean, there is like a transcript. I know this. I don't know if it's shareable.
Okay, so it did happen with Forrest Landry expecting that in fact everything gets eaten by cancer forever, and Sandberg arguing the other side. I don't put 0 chances on everything always gets eaten by cancer, but I would put it on like less than 10% currently. And then the other side of this is like, is there a thing which is good? And this is basically a question of, are your values specifiable? And like, if your values are unspecifiable, that's kind of a silly set of values to have. Maybe get values that are not nonsense and undefinable. I think I have values that are not fully unspecifiable when you extend specifiability to be like all of math. Okay, cool. Question answered.
Sweet. Thanks much. Did anyone else have any other questions at the moment? Please feel free to unmute and ask directly, or post them in chat. Either one's good. Yeah, I also mentioned briefly, like, when I had my own read.pm policy work and talking to him briefly, didn't get a feeling of like willingness to change mind based on evidence, which made me like less confident that the values produced from that kind of thing would be great, or the arguments produced from that kind of thing would be great. On the feeling of actually like, oh yes, so Martin has a question here. So Martin says, I am working in a research space for scenarios where AIs get built that can and will exfiltrate. And based on what, on that starting point, ask what we may be able to do to not get extinct. This is alignment, but assuming eventual uncontrollability. Does anyone know folks working in this space already?
I don't know specific researchers. I know this is like a thing that I think that some people in Anthropic are thinking about exfiltration stuff. I'm gonna probably be like in about a couple of weeks be building a like giant matchmaking system where you can put a Google Doc that describes your research, and then it will match you with other people who are doing similar research. I think that there's like the path to this being useful probably runs through something like avoiding the cockroaches thing, where you have lots of like relatively weak models like running on everyone's computers because they escaped, which does indeed put the world in a very bad place and is relatively likely. But stopping this, you still got to solve super alignment, and this only buys you maybe some more time when the world is like less extremely unstable. Continue.
I'm wondering if you have any follow-ups on that, please feel free to ask. And so, Peter asks, how do you defend following your taste/intuition on what to read? 80,000 hours seems to discourage following a passion in work, and this seems similar.
So, one, I like moderately disagree with ATK here. Two, I think like what feels good for you to read is going to be tracking lots of subtle things about how the things you're reading are affecting you. Having a trustworthy gut which you can follow is an extremely valuable asset. It means that you're not just like going to be following the same path that everyone else is following, or that like you feel like you should be following. You're going to be actually able to do like signals using your entire system to orient you towards what feels most valuable. This seems like a massive superpower, and like that people are vaguely discouraged from this seems a bunch of why things aren't as good as I want them to be.
I would suggest a slightly better version of that 80,000 hours thing by Hank Green, who recently made a video saying follow your tools, not your dreams or something. And I think that's a better, yeah.
I'll also throw in something like it's good. Like you don't want to just follow what feels good.
Yeah.
You want to like educate your what feels good sense. Like get the feedback cycle between like, oh, this thing was actually really useful for me, and like provide your like whole system with evidence of like what was valuable, and then move increasingly towards the things that like turn out to be valuable. Let the whole system like do the nice gradient descent, and strategically, not mindlessly. There is the failure mode of just like, I'm gonna scroll TikTok to solve AI safety, and like don't do that. You want to like combine the system 2 abstract multi-step reasoning with like the extreme power of your like large gradient descent system finding out like which way feels good.
Yeah. I also just put the generate test ideas, see what works, see what doesn't, put things out there. Happy people will naturally critique them. We are in a very critique-heavy field. I will critique them, send them to me. I will find ways which are wrong.
Oh, and I'll put one last thing in. The other huge bonus to doing the thing that your inner compass suggests is you have way more motivation.
Yes.
You will do like 5x, 10x, 20x more stuff, and like even if a bunch of that stuff ends up being dead ends, which it will, because a lot of stuff is just dead ends, that's fine. Even if it is, you'll do so much more stuff.
I'm sorry, Plex.
Well,
okay. Audio's just cut out. Okay, unfortunately, I'm not hearing you at the moment. Okay,
we have
sorry.
connection.
Sorry, yeah, it just cut out. I can hear you now. I think connection's back now.
Nice,
Okay.
cool. Yep, ready for next question.
Yes. So Anthony asks, or says, there is little published guidance re how to handle potential expo/info hazards. I understand why, since it is a crank magnet. I get that you have to earn reputation points. Even so, suspect it could be easier for the crowd.
Easier, what was that?
Easier for the crowd on how to handle.
Yeah. I think there's a good document like Conjecture's info hazard policy was like a reasonable attempt. I don't know of anything else that's better than that.
Justin Chauvelin's Let's Wrong post might be good. Will probably be good if there's like a complaint that there's nothing in the public.
Cool. Justin Chauvelin's post. What's the title of it?
I don't remember, but like if you go for Justin Chauvelin on Let's Wrong and like look for his post that has info hazards in the title, you will find it.
Cool. Justin Chauvelin info hazard should get you another one that's recommended.
Justin, how do you spell Chauvelin? S-H-O.
Like shovel.
Shovel A-I-N.
Okay, Justin Chauvelin.
I posted it in the chat.
Oh, awesome! Thanks so much.
Thanks, Berg.
Sweet. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? If not, then I think we can call it there. Awesome.
I can also move to questions in the room if there's no more questions on the chat.
Yes.
Yep, we got a question in
Can
the
we
room.
access these slides somehow?
Yeah, I can post them somewhere.
Can you post them into Plex?
Yeah, I'll do this afterwards if that's okay. Cool. Yep. Any more questions in the room? Cool.
When you showed the funding in AI safety graph, it looked like the last 3 years was decreasing.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, okay, I just have to double check that I saw it right.
Yep.
Also, I couldn't find it on the aisafety.com/numbers.
If you go to the switch to the desktop app because the other one cuts off the links. Yeah, you're right. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Increasingly outnumbered. I mean, probably that's somewhat compensated for by like internal lab spending going up if you count that, but like that's basically just anthropic and. Anyway.
Sweet.
Cool. Any more questions in the room, or should we move towards wrapping up? All right. Cool.
I have one question. It's like, is anybody? It might be actually like quite difficult, but is anybody trying to like track the estimates of how many like volunteer full-time employment, full-time equivalents are being poured into AI safety stuff?
The thing that might plausibly be tracking this would be AI Watch, and I think that's not been updated that much recently. So I don't think this is being well tracked.
I can give a guess, and I think Plex maybe you can give a guess as well, but that would be just be guesses based on vibes and experience.
Yep. Let's both make a guess in our heads and then say them before we like anchor each other.
Cool. Cool. I've got mine written down. Yep. Yep. So, Plex, you want to say yours? Say your guess.
Guess. Depending on how broadly you count it, between like 30 and 300, middling on like 100-ish.
Okay. I guess roughly 150.
Roughly how much?
150. Like, including like people in government stuff.
Yep, seems about fitting.
In theoretical agent foundations, my guess would be about less than 30.
Yeah. Yep, seems right.
Yeah. So,
so long as you discount the like category of person who is like actually ChatGPT psychotic and wrong.
yes, I do discount that. Yes.
Agent validation volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. Sweet. I think that's it for questions.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks so much for attending. And so you heard like how few people there are. You just being here and you just doing stuff in this program. You just actually trying stuff is making a significant percentage increase. Especially everyone who's doing the theory stuff is like part of like this being okay. This is, in my opinion, actually just a super interesting problem and super impactful. So you just doing stuff and trying, even if it fails, it probably will, is extremely impactful. Like, this is one of the rare cases where you can just be some guy in this parent's attic with like no money and make a huge difference in the world, like very easily. That's me.
Yeah.
And that can be you as well, but hopefully not in your parents' attic. Unless you really like living with your parents for some reason. But yeah, you can make a huge difference. Like if you just put in like 2-3 hours a day, or 1 hour a day, or like 1 hour a week consistently, and actually try stuff and see what works, see what doesn't. You can do a lot. And there's like a lot of people like places where it saves and stuff, and it's kind of vaguely true. This is one where it's really precisely true.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're an uncomfortably high percentage of humanity's effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy in some ways, but also really cool in some others. So yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for trying stuff. Thanks for doing stuff. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Guys, thanks so much. Take care.
Good one.